Hey, today I'm going to talk about post-married fitness for men. I've worked with a few married men over the years who basically come to me overweight, out of shape, trying to get back to their youth. Maybe you would think it might be like a midlife crisis, but actually it's a healthy midlife crisis because they're trying to get their health back together, and their energy levels are just enough to go out and throw the ball with the kid and do a couple chores around the house and then drive off to a desk job where they're sitting down all day and they see what's going on. They've taken a wrong turn somehow, yet they're happily married, they have the kids and the house and all that stuff. But there's some reoccurring patterns I see with the married man who gets out of shape, and I'm going to go over a couple of them. You think of the married man, you think of Homer Simpson or whatever, or some guy just sitting in a lazy boy with a big belly and a remote controller, and the wife's semi disinterested in him, and the kids kind of laugh and joke. And unfortunately, that ends up being the way for some men because they become complacent in their what initially was probably domestic bliss. But there's some obstacles you're going to face. Future married men or married men. You've gone in a few years, you've gone from probably being a single man with a girlfriend, newlywed, high testosterone environment. You feel like, wow, I met the one of my dreams. I'm fit or whatever. You got some job. It's pretty dynamic. Maybe it's not dynamic, but if it's not dynamic, you have a lot of free time to pursue your interests, which probably keep you going pretty good. And you have your soon-to-be wife or girlfriend or whatever. And then lo and behold, you're in a house with a mortgage and you have that first kid or first two kids. And all of a sudden you've gone from alpha male to modern man with the baby Bjorn and the bottle feeder and reading Goodnight Moon. All great activities. I'm sorry, I skipped out on the baby Bjorn. I just pick up my kid and carry him. I just didn't feel the baby Bjorn. But great activities, but they have actually had studies that show that these activities are lowering your testosterone while you do them, which is probably a good thing. It's good to bond with your kids and all that, and you don't want to be, Mr. Warrior with a little baby in your hands. But at the same time, when you start throwing in this kind of activity on top of a lame desk job, on top of poor nutrition, on top of not enough time with your wife because of the kids, you just have a recipe for lower testosterone levels. Nutrition can and will go out the window with some men after they get married. On a couch, with your little baby watching your football game, drinking your beer and eating your potato chips with your low testosterone, and the result is not too good. And the result is usually, some excess weight starts to pile around the midsection, that classic heart attack build. And another factor that comes into play is somewhat domestication, slight castration. Don't want to say that this is deliberate on the women's part, and I think there's things that men do to women that kind of maybe sour them a little bit, and it's a little bit subconsciousness, but I have heard from some men that their wives like them big and plump because they're nice to hug and all that kind of stuff, which there might be some truth to that. But underneath that, I hear a little bit of they like their men big and plump because big and plump men stay on couches and don't go out at night and have guys' night out and all that stuff. And that's a whole other a bunch of issues. Could this be happening? Well, if your wife's like stuffing cheesecake in your face every night and feeding you 2 meals for dinner and telling you she loves her big teddy bear, then there could be a subconscious effort on the part of you and your wife to turn you into kind of a house lapdog, neutered lapdog that's just kind of around the house. Now, The extreme end of that is, the guy that's all over the place, straying from the home. That's a whole other story. And I don't think you have to necessarily be one guy or the other, but, avoid that, killing off of your maleness by eating and kind of living a boring life. And something's really missing energy wise, and it shouldn't be happening to people in their 30s, 40s. It shouldn't happen to anybody. You should try to be as healthy as you can and have as much vigor as you can and stay on top of it until you're ready to die. So, when you see this happening to people in their 30s, just kind of, you know, having like a domestic death, it's a little bit depressing. And even though, they might have these nice little happy families and everybody's smiling in the pictures, it's not what life is all about. I mean, you should be out biking with your kids. You should be planning like white water rafting trips with your kids or mountain biking trips through Moab. Things that are basically more exciting than plopping down in front of a TV while your kids and wife browse an iPad screen for 2 or 3 hours every night. So how do you avoid this downward spiral that happens sometimes with some guys with domestication and family life? You got to keep the workouts. If you worked out, when you were single because you wanted to look good, now you're working out because you want to feel good, you want to be healthy, and you want to look good too, but, put the feel good and the healthy stuff in front there. And you might not have the time to work out that you used to have, so maybe you got to get up first thing in the morning, 6 a.m. You got to be that guy. When I used to go to the gyms in the morning to train, the most serious people in there were successful, driven people in there at 6 a.m. getting their workout before anything else happened in the day, and then they were going off and working out. And you got to, if you got kids, get them involved in physical activity. Don't sit around and just, everybody have a bunch of screen time, because that's just going to lead to stagnation, and your kids are going to suffer with that too. And if your wife's not necessarily along for the ride, you got to do it for yourself. And this works both ways. I tell this to women too that say, their husband's doesn't want to change their ways of bad eating and nutrition. And same thing with the wife. If they're not going to change, you got to change for your own health and be a leader. And maybe they follow you. If they don't follow you, you've got a little rift there that you got to work on. And that's, you got to think of it in terms of your health and your wife. When you're married, you're kind of part of the same team. You're one person there, and you both got, maybe one of you has to be a leader. So find a time to work out, get your family in shape. If your spouse isn't along for the ride, you go on that ride on your own, and maybe they join up with you. Because you don't have to be, you don't have to be the guy in the lazy boy with the big belly with the kids running amok. You don't have to be that guy. You can do something about it. Marriage is not a death sentence for fitness, and you got to do it for your health at this point. Along, with the vanity. Hey, everybody wants to look good, but I know when you're married and you settle down, it's really got to be about the health, because that's really, why you look good is usually a result of the fact that you're in good health.